This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Hello and welcome to episode 69 of Cooking with Grief. We'll get to it. The fortnightly furrow into the worlds of art, science and history through the prism of interesting facts we've learned about the week. And as it is episode
69,
it's only fitting that I pay tribute to my co-host.
Oh, wait, what?
As co-captains of the good ship SS Grief, we have to communicate. We have to honour each other's time and bodies, and we have to give and receive in equal measure. A good podcast is like good sex. You have to listen to what the other person's saying. You have to read them like a book of Braille with goosebumps. And with our recordings, you have to finish roughly at the same time. It all comes down to trust and communication from miles apart and over the phone and recorded for posterity and sent out to strangers. And without Chris, this wouldn't be episode 69. This would just be self-indulgent audio wanking. Hello, Chris.
Hello for what is now the most uncomfortable intro we've ever done. I did think you were going to say, it wouldn't be episode 69, it would merely be episode 6.
We are juvenile, but, you know.
Semi-successful.
I mean, we put the semi in. No, never mind. Are you broadly well?
Yeah.
Despite my creepy intro?
Yeah, quite well. How are you? You also well?
Yeah, broadly
fine?
broadly good.
Oh, good. Oh, broadly good.
I mean, for the benefit of the listeners, so we have a sort of pre-podcast chat, and it's normally just 10 minutes of small talk, just to, if nothing else, sort of warm up the voice. We talk for like an hour, caught up, so that intro small talk, we've just sort of got to be like, good,
yeah,
get
out of the way, get to the meat of the sandwich, so to speak.
I don't know if I like meat and 69 in the same
vibe
space.
You made your bed. Right, now it's time to
suck a dick. You've made your bed, now suck each other off.
I'd rather not. It's all the same.
I can see why I didn't get that marketing job for I know, some hotel. I couldn't even be bothered to finish that joke. Some hotel. I'm trying to think of any travel lodge. Sure, let's throw them under the mutual bus. Yeah. Good. So this is for new listeners. We bring a topic each that we'll learn about in the week, and we tell each other about it, giving and indeed receiving. So, Chris, it's your turn to give first, and I'll receive all ears.
Okay, Chris. So, what does Strasbourg in 1518 and the 1978 Jackson 5 hit Blame It on the Boogie have in common?
Of all the sort of cold questions that we start these podcasts with, that might be the hardest one. I'm going to say that there was a musician who went by the name of the Boogie in Strasbourg in 1518, and a heinous crime was blamed upon it and led to the slogan, "Blame it on the Boogie." It's actually, that's what the Jackson 5 are referencing.
Well, that would probably make more sense than the truth. The answer is, I just can't control my feet. Repeat times 3.
He says, having already repeated times 3. So you could have said it once and repeat by 9.
Also, just side interesting fact, I'm going to get to my main fact, but whilst researching that joke, I found out that Blame It on the Boogie was originally released by an English singer-songwriter called Mick Jackson, Mick being short for Michael George Jackson, which could just be rearranged to George Michael, who is of absolutely no relation to Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. It's just a little random coincidence there.
That's a weird
like
little...
he was the one who wrote it.
A weird little quinky-dink. I wonder if he did
And then
well off that.
You'd hope so, but I don't know. He's apparently still alive, though.
Oh.
So that's nice.
Well, this episode 69 is dedicated to Mick Jackson.
Yes.
Rest in peace.
Oh, apparently I had a bit of a chart battle between Mick Jackson and the Jackson 5's version. Anyway.
That's in the same way that, you know, certain battles are definitely one-sided and everyone can see which way it's going to go.
Oh, well, anyway, so on to the actual topic of Strasbourg in 1518. So that's Strasbourg, which sounds German, but is actually in France, although it's one of those places that has gone between the two countries over time. And at the time in 1518, it was just part of the Holy Roman Empire. And what happened there was known as the Dancing Plague of 1518. I'm sure you can work out what happened. There was dancing. It was 1518. So
thank you.
End topic. Over to you. So what happened was a woman called Frau Trophea. I assume, well, Frau just means Mrs. So unless she was called like Mrs. Trophea, I assume she was just called Mrs. Trophea. But for some reason they like to refer to her as Frau Trophea. She walked out into the street in July 1518 and just began to dance. And then all of a sudden, other people started dancing. Dancing with her. She was just dancing like crazily, just doing some very I suppose like in modern times it'd be like somebody who's just done a load of MDMA at a rave or something.
Some rudimentary body popping.
Yeah, just kept going and just danced for days and days and didn't stop until she collapsed of exhaustion. And then when she recovered, got up and carried on dancing. And then within a week, other people started to dance with her. Everyone had started being just uncontrollable. By August, 400 people in the town were recorded of having started to dance. And it kept going all the way through to September. And then it stopped. You know, there's rumours, but it's contested, that some people might even have died of exhaustion. But yeah, people blistered their feet. People, fell over, just shattered. They just danced until they literally couldn't. And it's, I mentioned on Twitter the other day, actually, that, one of the most disheartening things when you research this podcast is you'll find something that seems interesting, do a little bit of digging and find out it's an urban myth, or... Yeah. There's no verifiable sources. There were several primary sources that talked about this, and so as far as I can tell, it genuinely did happen. The only discussion is whether or not there were any actual deaths from this. But yeah, the idea that 400 people danced until they couldn't dance no more for no real reason.
And do we know what caused it?
So there's a few competing theories. So doctors at the time just fell back to their tried and trusted diagnoses of either demons or too much blood.
Classic.
So yeah.
So
they were like,
Margaret, get the leeches.
Yeah. So
and a priest.
Although apparently they decided to just let people dance it away, I guess, because they couldn't be bothered doing that many people. Therefore, just dance it off. So some people apparently accepted that it was, the way to do it was to just dance it out. Then there's the modern sort of theories. So there's one that maybe there was some sort of mass food poisoning from some sort of toxin, and rather than just killing everybody or making them shit themselves, it affected their minds and made them dance. And then the other theory is just that life in the Holy Roman Empire in 1518 was just so unbearable. It's just so awful. There was a mass psychosis. And when one person had a nervous breakdown, it sort of triggered it in other people. And everybody just went mad.
Is there any recording of what their demeanour was like while they were dancing? Were they screaming in pain, or were they dancing happily? Like obviously, like the physical movement is happy, but like, and they couldn't.
The only words I've seen were fervently. Other descriptions in the articles I've read were just sort of like frenzied.
Right, but
So, I don't know.
They couldn't talk to that, or they couldn't reply. Like,
No.
so why are you dancing?
No, they just...
And it wasn't like
No,
viral
they
marketing
just-
before viral marketing was a thing.
Yeah, no, they apparently just happened.
It would have
So-
definitely changed the optics on the COVID-19 pandemic if the main
Oh,
symptom
if everyone
was
just danced.
Because we said at the time, I don't know whether on the podcast, that the problem with convincing people to wear masks or like socially distance was that it's an invisible thing. Whereas if COVID had made people scream uncontrollably,
Oh, yeah.
it would
Like,
have...
everyone would have been like...
Yeah, because you'd stay away from crazy people screaming in the street, and it would have been dead easy
Yeah.
to quarantine them.
Yeah, that's the thing with COVID. It wasn't visceral enough, which I know is probably a good thing. But, you know what I mean? Like, if there's a disease that makes you bleed from your eyeballs, everyone would wear a mask.
Yeah.
Like, nobody would take that risk. You'd see one person with their eyes bleeding, and you'd be like, oh, fuck that. Like, give me 10 masks.
Yeah. Suddenly, my notions of freedom permit me to wear a mask. Yeah. It's actually in the Magna Carta.
Whereas, if it's less visible, like COVID, it was sort of like, obviously it was awful and people, like loads of people died, but you tended to die in hospital or in your own bed or wherever, coughing. It just wasn't very, it'd be awful to be in.
Yeah.
But it didn't make a...
I don't say that to if anyone really suffered with it, to say that lightly, but in terms of getting people to respond to trust the science, that we're such visual creatures that screaming or dancing or bleeding eyeballs would be really great marketing.
Yeah, it's why people fear Ebola so much.
Yeah, or rabies.
Including myself. Yeah, because, you're much less likely to die of Ebola than, like, COVID for one.
Yeah.
And plenty of others. But an Ebola outbreak sends fear through everybody because it's like just a visual, it's an awful way to die, and it's a visually awful way to die.
Yeah.
So people respond to it in a way that, like, say, coughing yourself to death, whatever, just doesn't seem to.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, most likely answer is life in the 1500s was just fucking awful.
I thought that was a joke.
People,
like,
no, that is genuinely the.
Okay, so
let me find the actual phrasing. But yeah, basically, stress-induced psychosis on a mass level, since the region where people dance was riddled with starvation and diseases. And then there's also the you throw in the fact that, like, obviously people were deeply religious and whatnot in that area, so they reckon in that time period that you're more likely to believe there were saints that had to do with dancing, and then there were also, you throw in the demons and stuff, and
yeah,
the idea is that if you see one person possessed, you might believe you'll be the next to possessed, and it'll be like a self-fulfilling thing, and then all of a sudden you're dancing because you all think you're possessed, because you've all just sort of going through massive trauma.
Or have you ever seen, it happens quite a lot on like sort of a breakfast telly, where there'll be a competition where you've got to, like, you get 10 people stood around, let's say, a new car, and they've all got to touch the car, and then and then when the game is just to be the longest person to carry on touching the car.
Yeah.
And the last person to stop touching it wins the car. Maybe it was like that, if you dance for 24 hours, then you win.
You win a car.
Well, maybe not a car in them days. Maybe, I don't know, a nice fleece or something. A prize goal.
If that is if that was the case, they didn't think to write it down for future historians.
Right, okay, there wasn't a billboard behind the dancers.
Time.
Yeah, we talked before. The brain parasites that get into ants and then makes them climb. It's not parasites; it's a spore, and it makes it gets them far away, and then a spore grows out of the head and sort of nails them to the tree. All these sort of apocalyptic, exactly. So like that sort of thing. Would it be as sort of harrowing if it was a widespread, like, brain parasite that just made people dance?
Possibly not. Although, well, I don't know. It's just like any major city in England on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
People stumbling around, then they dance for a bit, then stumble around some more.
Yeah, true, yeah.
And then collapse.
Yeah, it's
that's just Manchester tonight.
Yeah, it's either Deadly Outbreak or it's, I don't know, Cardiff on a Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I picked on Cardiff, I'm sure it's lovely.
But fuck them anyway.
Yeah. Oh, calling you out, Cardiff.
And on that note, I think it's your turn to speak.
Okay, so for my topic, I've actually got 2 questions to start us off.
Ooh.
I know, I'm breaking with tradition. So for the first question, Chris, what is the best price thing you regularly get?
Best priced?
Yeah, just to think that, and yeah, every like weekly shop or whatever, it's like, oh, well, the price is going up on that. And then something's like, I can't believe it's this price.
It's not a weekly thing, but like, sometimes like, with your club card at Tesco, like potatoes are like 39p. For like a kilo or 2.5 kilos of potatoes, which just seems unsustainable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, or like 19p for a bag of carrots. Like, how is anybody making any money from that? Probably slave labour. Best not to look too deep into that.
Yeah. I had a similar experience, and so I don't normally shop at Aldi, which for our American listeners is...
they have Aldi over there.
Oh, do they?
I was really surprised.
So,
or at least in some places. Explain it anyway. America's a big place. It's really weird. You can talk to one person and they're like, oh yeah, I got this. And you talk to one from a different state and they're like, what the fuck
Never
is
heard
that?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a German supermarket that's sort of budgeted as advertised as a budget supermarket here, but it's pretty good. They're not everywhere, and I don't normally shop at them, not for any reason other than geographical location. But I went to one the other day.
Do you have an Aldi versus Lidl preference?
Aldi.
I'm an Aldi man through and through. The only thing I like about Lidl is the fresh baked goods. But
right. Okay.
Otherwise, I find the Lidl layout. I know you've got a whole topic to do, but this is a topic that's close to my heart.
That's absolutely fine.
My chest. I find the Lidl layout confusing and slightly upsetting. It's just it doesn't follow a very logical pattern. I just find things aren't where you expect them to be. Whereas Aldi, wonderful layout. Can plan my whole shopping trip. Know where everything's going to be.
Yeah, I can't say... I don't think I've ever been to a Lidl.
It's like an Aldi, but worse. But there's fresh baked goods, which smell delightful, and they're right by the door. Okay,
which doesn't upset you. So you go in, and you're immediately soothed by the smell of fresh baked goods, and then you're immediately upset by the subsequent layout.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, if anyone from the retail team at Lidl is listening, first of all, why? And secondly, I know, feed that back, I guess. Okay, so part B of the question. Oh, right, no, sorry. The whole point I mentioned Aldi in the first place is in response to you saying how cheap stuff was. So having not shopped at an Aldi regularly, I was walking round and saying out loud, I can't believe how cheap it is. I can't believe it. And it sounded like I was like a sort of a marketing plant, because I was just saying out loud to myself, pushing a trolley around and going, I can't believe it. It's so much cheaper. Anyway, that is entirely by the by. Part B.
Was this just an advert for Aldi? Like, have you been sponsored by Aldi? But I haven't. So you've had to slip it in
whilst working for a rival supermarket as well.
Other brands are available.
But all of them are shit compared to Aldi. Shop at Aldi. Okay. No, I don't know how. The topic is not Aldi.
What do you mean you don't know how? You brought it up.
Okay, yeah, I do know how, but I wasn't. Nowhere in my notes does it say plug the shit out of Aldi. Okay, part B of the question. Have you ever been to Costco?
Yes, I have been to Costco.
Okay, is it as upsetting as a Lidl?
No, although I've not been for many years.
Right, okay. Any prevailing thoughts on Costco?
So, I only used to go as a kid because my parents used to have a Costco card, but then they gave it up because, well, we never bought anything in bulk. So I only used it to buy cheap PlayStation games because they were slightly cheaper than the shops, and also the jacket potatoes I remember were huge and delicious, and the pizza was also good. This is from the cafe on the way out. Yeah, and also I do enjoy a Costco cake. You know, when people at work bring in a Costco cake if someone's leaving.
And the giant ones.
Yeah,
have you had
always a big fan of those.
Ever had the Costco hot dog?
Oh yeah, also good.
Great, that's what my topic's about.
Nice.
It's seamless. Okay, so we are living through, in this country at least, living through times of record inflation. But the Costco hot dog has always been, well, the hot dog plus drink combo deal has always been £1.50 and remains £1.50 to this day.
Does that mean it was hideously expensive
back in the day?
Back in the day, and now is like reasonably
super
priced
cheap.
or to cheap now.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it was first introduced in 1985 when it was £1.50, and for £1.50 you could get a sausage filled with ground up beef eyeballs, hooves, and intestines, plus a carbonated drink of choice.
Worth it.
And now you can still get £1.50's worth of delicious hot dog and carbonated beverage, which is weird in a time of food crisis that it can remain so cheap, and so much so that it definitely loses the money. The Costco founder, Jim Senegal, had a rule that it will always be £1.50. And when inflation...
Seems like such a weird thing.
A weird hill to die on.
Yeah. Of all the rules he could have placed in, like, does he still own it? Is he dead? Like, of all the rules to place in perpetuity, like, it was like, the £1.50 hot dog is here forever.
To stay. Yeah. It's like in like films when like you can like get your share of the inheritance by only spending a night in a haunted mansion, and it's like, it's a weird rule. I mean, obviously it's a plot device in films, but I'm not saying that the hot dog is a plot device here that I know of. But so his successor and current CEO, W. Craig Jelinek, I think I've said that right. He had to go and like, there was like, we're losing too much money on the hot dog, I'm gonna put the price up. And Senegal, who's the original founder, phoned him and said, if you raise the price of the fucking hot dog, I will kill you.
Which I mean, I kind of admire this guy now. Yeah. Like, if I was I'd love to be like, if I was rich, I'd just go mad. Like, this is the exact type of thing. I don't know anything else about this Senegal guy, like what else he like may or may not be. But like this is exactly the type of thing rich people should be doing with their time. It's just making arbitrary rules just and making forcing people to live by them. Like, if I was a billionaire, I don't know. I don't even know what I'd do. I'd just go mad. I'd just like randomly decide that I'm going to give everybody wearing a hat like $10,000 today, and be like, walk down the street and be like, you're in a hat, $10,000. And then
exactly. It's
just do random shit like that. Should it be £1.50 to the detriment of like anything else because a random billionaire says so?
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's like that, and that's so much more fun on a day-to-day basis than buying Twitter.
Yeah. Why should we be doing all this, or like having to testify in front of Congress and all the other like random shit that billionaires have to do? Just go fucking mad.
Yeah. So in a business meeting, like with all like so the founder and the previous CEO flies back in from, I assume, his Hello thing, and tells the new CEO in front of everyone, if you raise the price of the fucking hot dog, I will kill you. Figure it out. This guy should have been selling hot dogs. He didn't need to build a business empire. He should have been selling hot dogs from as a street vendor. Yeah. Probably in a New York accent. So he literally threatened another man with death over this hot dog. And maybe he just likes a cheap hot dog, but his philosophy behind it was, the food court is the last place a Costco customer goes. And if they get the hot dog, which a lot of people in America at least, I believe, go for the hot dog, then they're leaving the shop with the lasting impression that they're getting a good deal. It's like you've done your shopping, you pay, you get something like super cheap, it fills you up, you're leaving happy. It makes for good customers, apparently.
I wonder if that's the same reason then that IKEA also has a very cheap cafe on the way out. If anything, I'd say I think it's even cheaper in IKEA. The hot dog's
if
like
you raise the
60p.
price of these meatballs, I will fucking kill you.
Yeah. I mean, have you been to IKEA?
I have, yeah.
And have you sampled the excellent array of food? Honestly, I love going to IKEA just to have the food.
See, in my experience, the cafe is halfway around, not at the end.
Oh, no,
there's
so
the
there's two.
sit down.
There's two.
I thought the bit at the end was more like the shop. There's like a little supermarket.
Well, it's
at the end.
well, yeah, it's a shop, but there's also like a fast food stall. You know, it's like fast food. It's like McDonald's. It's a counter, so you go and you can get like lingonberry juice and a hot dog.
Yeah.
And then there's nowhere to sit. You just have to take it and leave. So yeah, you got the IKEA restaurant halfway round, midway through the labyrinth of IKEA. Like you don't know you're halfway around. You're just sort of lost in the endless like
arrows
corridors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at Billy bookcases and the Horal.
Yeah. See,
and the Spondabald.
Which is a shelf. Yeah. So my IKEA experience is exactly the same thing every way around, right? So go in knowing what I want to buy and nothing else. I go and look at the thing I want to buy and agonize over the price, because I have this thing where if you phoned me tomorrow and said, "Can I borrow $5,000?" it would be in your account in a minute, right? But I don't like spending money on myself for like fun things. You know, like I'm thinking, do I really need a bookcase? It's like, well, yes, you need somewhere to put all your books, but do I need to spend £150 on a bookcase? So what I do, so the first half is identifying the product and its location. Then you pause for coffee and meatballs halfway round, and then that's when you have a long hard think about whether you need to actually buy the thing, and then the second half is actually buying the thing.
And then you buy a load of other shit you don't even want. Like,
Exactly.
I'm buying this now, so I might as well buy this. Buy a set of pans, and oh look, some nice artwork.
Yeah, and the thing that always gets me is like the desk accessories section. We get you like desk tidies, and I love like storage solutions that are like wildly complicated. That's what gets me. Like ooh, a pen holder made out of. And you're like, I don't have that many pens to justify a pen holder. I've got a pen holder at home, and yet the Fahrstuhl really talks to me.
Exactly.
So that's IKEA. But okay, so Costco's apparently the same thing, where you do your shopping, and then his philosophy at least is that you leave with a good impression. But the 150 rule was not only like under pain of death will it always be $1.50. It has to stack internationally as well. So in the UK, the hot dog deal is £1.50. In Europe, it's €1.50. In Japan, it's 150 yen, which means the Japanese are getting their hot dog and drink for $1.18.
Oh, undercutting. So we're overpaying. We're basically subsidising Japan's Costco hot dog.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't look into. So Costco sell 100 million hot dogs annually. I'm guessing the breakdown is like mostly US and Canada, then like UK and Europe. I don't know how many Costco's there are in Japan, or indeed how big the Japanese are on hot dogs.
Oh, but I do know the Japanese for hot dog.
Go on.
Hot dog. It actually genuinely is just hot dog in a Japanese accent. You know, we were saying about how Japanese, you just got to say it in the accent. If you read the katakana out, it's like the one for ho, the one for to. Then there's like one of them lines, I think, to make it like a hot, and then do gu, hot dog gu.
That's the thing. Japanese, it's such a fine line between taking the piss out the accent and saying it with enough confidence, to be accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it sounds like I'm taking the piss, but genuinely, it's stuck in my brain. That is one of the ones that I remember reading, being like, wow, Japanese is easy. It's just English with a silly accent.
Yeah. It's just, you just read it phonetically. Like, what's microwave? Microwave! Like, okay, good. So we're subsidizing them. To make it cheaper, to avoid the threat of death, and to, like, make it still loses money, but to make it lose less money, they went as far as setting up their own hot dog production plant, first in LA and then in Chicago to curb production costs. And it used to come with Coke, and then Coke put up the prices. So then they switched to Pepsi when Pepsi promised them a lifetime price guarantee to guard against future inflation, which is just like it's so
basically one guy has managed to like bring down like Costco and Pepsi, all with his insane vision of $1.50 hot dogs.
But I wonder if there's like a statute of limitations. Like in 100 years, is it still going to be 150 and the guy's long dead, or when he dies, do they go, okay,
finally,
he can't hurt us now?
Who knows? Who knows how these things work? I like to think he'll try it, and then all of us, like his future successor, will try to raise the prices, and then they'll just be like
haunted.
Well, I was just going to say, like, this guy's obviously spent billionaire, so he's probably just, his reanimated corpse will show up from, like, cryogenic freezing and just demand, like, literally, like, kills whoever tries to put up the prices with his robot army.
If Mr. House was a one-issue hot dog.
That was literally what was in my mind with Mr. House.
I know you well enough that I know your references.
I was like, don't say it. Don't say Mr. House. Just leave it.
I knew. See, that's the sort of simpatico that makes the intro like less creepy and more accurate. There is a level of trust and give and take. Yeah, it all comes back round. So that brings us to the end of episode
69
of Cooking with Grief. Thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed our two topics. I feel, given it is episode
69,
it was mutually enjoyable for both Chris and I.
Indeed it was. Go team.
Is that what you say after sex? If you enjoy listening to this, you can get in touch with us on Twitter at Cooking with Grief, and OG on Cooking for amusing tweets, just general feedback, or if you've got a longer piece of fan mail or anything like that, you can email cookingwithgrief@gmail.com, nearly. But most importantly, if you could leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your particular podcast, tell a friend. If you find it funny, maybe they will too. It just helps the podcast grow. And until then, you'll hear from us again next time in 2 weeks with another two fascinating topics. I think that's everything.
Yeah, I think that's all the major talking points. Should we offer the listeners a hot dog so that they leave with a full belly of reasonably priced meat?
Yeah, I mean, what sort of price range are you looking at?
I reckon about $2.
I will fucking kill you. Let us know on Twitter what your best priced meat is. Is
that best value for money or just the cheapest meat?
Best value thing that you buy it and you're like, I can't believe it's still this price.
Okay.
That's a nice call to action if you're on Twitter.
Review supermarkets for us.
Yeah, we're still not heard from the Tesco crowd or the big ones actually. Tesco, Aldi, Morrison's, Sainsbury's. Foreign ones.
Carrefour. Monoprix.
Genmay.
Spar. E-Spar.
Does anyone do a big shop at Spar?
I don't know. In Italy, though, they call them like E-Spars and they seem a bit bigger, but yeah, I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, your 7-Elevens, your...
Netto.
No, that's the word I've not heard in a while. Is that still going?
In Copenhagen, at least.
Oh.
Yeah. I went to a Netto. I was like, whoa, Scandinavian for value.
Oh, was it?
That was the old slogan. Do you ever have things that are just buried into your brain for, like, since you were a child that have no relevance? Like, I can always remember the advert for Netto. And they'd be like, Netto, Scandinavian for value. I've never set foot in a Netto until about 6 months ago when I was on holiday in Denmark.
And Scandinavian's not a language.
No, but that was not the advert, Chris.
Okay.
Sorry, 6-year-old me didn't question the linguistic accuracy of the Netto advert.
If it's in your brain, you could have retroactively done it. You've hung
really
on to that. So let us know your local supermarket. What's the vibe?
What
are we doing? Who the fuck is going to spend their own free time tweeting a podcast saying, "Oh yeah, my local co-op's quite nice, 6 out of 10." Okay, thank you. I don't know what to do with any.
But if you could do it, I'd really appreciate it. I don't expect anyone to, but anyone who does, I would love it.
What company is your local shop, and give it a rating out of 10? No further information. Just a string of tweets that just say Tesco 4 out of 10, Morrison's 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
And we'll come up with an average.
Yes. Or not. Depends how much you care.
It was a different outro to normal. We're doing a different way.
Yeah.
So
goodbye.
Goodbye.